You're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck.
What's up, YouTube? This is Brandon, third-rate duelist, going to come at you guys another deck profile. So today I'm going to show off an updated Lair of Darkness Infernoid deck profile. So I really like this deck, and it's probably one of my favorite decks to play, and it's super underrated. Like, this deck is really good against the meta, and Lair of Darkness build just, like, if your opponent goes first and establishes a board and you have Lair of Darkness with this, you can out almost any board with it. It's pretty good. Maybe I'm overhyping it, I'm not sure, but I really like it. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So I'm going to start off with 2 Nuku, Dark Hole on summon, and then its effect is it can negate a spell or trap card, and then 2 Deviati, which is a Heavy Storm on summon and negates monster effects. So you got to play 2 of each of these because of the Void Feast play, and then because then if you draw one, you can still resolve Void Feast and have 1 spell or trap negate and 1 monster negate off the Decatrons, and also that way, if you like Void Feast them, you can follow up with Void Imagination still. So 2 of these is necessary. I wouldn't play any more than 2 just because you kind of want these cards to stay in deck. You want to send them to graveyard off of Decatron or Void Imagination. So, and they're also kind of brick cards. You don't want to open them because they take so much resource to play. So 2 and 2 I feel like is the right ratio. And then 1 Atondal. The reason I'm still main decking this is because it's another of the DD Crow effect monsters that can be done on either player's turn, and the double attack does come up and helps OTK the opponent. And then 2 Sestimus. The reason I'm playing 2 of this is because it's probably the best big Infernoid in the deck. It's one of its effect is if it attacks opponent's monster, it doesn't have to destroy it by battle, it just has to attack an opponent's monster. At the end of the battle phase, you banish a card on your opponent's side of the field. And it also has the tribute 1 monster to banish 1 card out of the opponent's graveyard. And the reason why this Lair of Darkness is so good in my opinion is because if you play Lair of Darkness with the Infernoid build, you just tribute your opponent's monsters for cost and then banish a card out of their graveyard. And it's another layer of interruption after you've resolved Void Feast. And it's pretty good. It helps out problem cards. It's pretty good. And then 1 of the level 6 for Void Feast play. You only play 1 of it. You don't want to draw this card just because you want to be able to have 2 Decatrons off of Void Feast. If you draw this, you can still send 1 Decatron, special summon 1 Decatron and special summon to level 7, or you can special summon 1 of the level 4, 1 of the level 3, and Decatron, but it's only 1 negate versus 2 if you special summon level 6. And then the level 6 also isn't that bad in the Lair of Darkness build because it still has the DD Crow effect that Tondal and Sestimus have to be able to banish a card out of the opponent's graveyard. And if you have Lair of Darkness on the field after you resolve Void Feast, you have 3 interruptions on your opponent's turn, and it's pretty good. And so then also playing 2 of the level 4 utility card, Pop Spells or Traps, also has the DD Crow effect, but you can only do it on your opponent's turn, which is fine. And then 2 of the level 3, Harmadic, pops a opponent's monster, also has the DD Crow effect, but can only be done on the opponent's turn. And they come up, and they're also names, so that way in the mid-game you can still play Infernoid cards after you've resolved Void Feast, and if your opponent breaks your board. I'm playing 2 of each of these isn't that bad, because then you can just keep making plays in the mid-game. And then 3 of the best card in the deck, Infernoid Decatron. When it's normal or special summoned, you send an Infernoid monster to the graveyard. It copies the name, effect, and adds a level to its own. So the idea is you resolve Void Feast and special summon 2 Decatrons and the level 6, and then you'll have a spell and trap negate and a monster negate. And if you have Lair of Darkness on the field, you'll also have an interruption with level 6 because you can attribute your opponent's monster for cost to banish a card out of their graveyard. And then Arima is the only Lair of Darkness monster I am main decking. The only thing you're really going to use him for is Searching Lair. The draw effect comes up every once in a while, but I don't really use it. I mainly use him to search Lair. The reason I'm not playing Lilith is because the only trap I'm main decking is Void Feast, and if you draw Void Feast and Lilith, Lilith is dead. And I don't play Darkest Diablos because Darkest Diablos is a dead card in hand unless you have Lair of Darkness and a way to tribute your Infernoid monsters, with either with their own effects or with any other with an Arima. So it doesn't come up that often, so I ended up cutting it just to make the deck as consistent as possible, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. So that's it for that. And then to round off the monsters, the hand trap of choice I picked was 3 Gamma and 1 Driver. So the reason I opted to choose Gamma as the hand trap is because I'm still main decking Reasoning. So Gamma can't be normal summoned or special summoned. So Reasoning will keep going, and then that way I'm only playing 1 monster that can be normal summoned off of the Reasoning instead of 3. And also the fact that if they hit your Void Vanishment with Ash after you've discarded for cost, it can really hurt. So then just being able to Gamma afterwards and negate the Ash to resolve to gain your Void Feast is pretty good. And even if like you went first and searched Void Feast, and you flip the Void Feast on their standby phase and they go to Ash it, then you have Gamma still to protect it still. So it's pretty good. So Gamma's a hand trap of choice for me in this build. And also everyone's side decking Lancia right now, which can hurt this deck depending on your hand, but Gamma is also a safeguard against that. And then that's it for the monsters. Let's go ahead and get into the spells. Play 3 of Lair of Darkness. Obviously, this card's so good with Infernoids. They complement each other so well. And then 3 Vanishment. Playing 3 Vanishment because you want to see Void Feast as much as possible. And I'm only main decking 2 Imagination. The reason being is because this deck's kind of built to go first. And it can go second, and it can go second well. And that's why I'm still playing 2 of this, but going first, this card essentially doesn't do anything for you other than being able to be sent off a Void Feast. So I tried to minimize on dead going first cards, so I cut this down to 2 and I side the 3rd. Even though if you go second, this is like a blowout card and you're probably going to OTK your opponent. Like if you open this card and a way to summon another monster, you're probably going to OTK your opponent. That's how good this card is. And then this is what I added. I am playing 3 into the Void. So this card is like super good because you can search it off of Vanishment and then draw a card. So it's more ways to try and draw into Lair of Darkness. So if you already have Feast in hand and you just want to try and draw into Lair of Darkness, you can search Void into the Void and draw a card. And it's not once per turn. So if I have multiple copies of these, I'm going to draw cards. And it's really good. And it's also still considered a Void spell or trap. So if you want to, you can send it off of Void Feast. So I'm playing more copies of Void spell or trap to send off a Feast. And then the other draw card I'm playing is I'm playing 2 Extravagance and 1 Desires. If I get a 3rd Extravagance, AJ's letting me borrow these for now. So shout out to AJ for letting me use them. But whenever I have access to a 3rd Extravagance, I will play a 3rd Extravagance. This card is so good in this deck. Like, even though the only card it conflicts with is Into the Void, and so that kind of comes up, but not very often, and you don't need your extra deck to win with this. So being able to +1 and then possibly draw into Void Feast or Vanishment or Lair of Darkness is super good. Like, the amount of consistency that adding these 2 cards into the deck put into it is insane. It's really good. I'm all the time like having Feast and Lair, and it sucks for my opponent. So I know these are kind of expensive. So if you guys want like another budget option to play, instead of playing the Extravagances, you can play a triple pot of Desires instead as another draw card. Banishing 10 from the top of the deck to draw 2 cards hurts more than banishing 6 from the extra deck, because if you banish the driver or the level 6, it kind of sucks. But Desires is still good. But this is what I'm playing for now. If I get access to a 3rd Extravagance, I would play 3 Extravagance. And then for last spell, I'm still playing 1 Reasoning just because this is still an extender going first, and it's pretty good. I'm playing less normal summonable monsters in this build than I was previously. I ended up cutting out the Lightsworn engine to play these cards, and the reason I opted to do that is because I'm playing more spells in this build, so being able to draw cards instead of like being able to draw 2 cards or 1 card is better than just milling them, because I'm more likely to draw into the spells I need, like Lair of Darkness and things like, or Void Vanishment. So it helps quite a bit. So these are better than the Lightsworn engine in my opinion. And then Reasoning is still an extender for the deck, and it's still a good one in 1-for-1 just to summon Decatron if you need to. And then last for the main deck is Triple Void Feast. This card is so good. Like, if you can resolve Void Feast, you're probably going to win. Just saying, because it dumps so much resource to the graveyard, and even if they out your board after you set up the 2 negates with the level 6, you're just going to special summon big Infernoids and blow up the board. It's super, super good. And then for the extra deck, I finally have a reason to justify playing 3 Tierra, because I'm main decking Pot of Extravagance. So playing 3 this I'm main decking Extravagance, and you can summon other copies of Tierra off Tierra to kind of feel your grave a little more if you need to. And then Triple Natess, it's a card you can send off Tierra to, you know, break apart your opponent's board. 3 of it, you can always send 3 of it off Tierra if you need to, or again, playing 3 copies of it's really good because I am playing Extravagance. 1 Omega because I can make Omega outside of just having Gamma. 1 Black Rose. Black Rose is pretty good. Just being able to bomb the opponent's board. Like, I know it's not that great right now in this metagame, but it does come up once in a while. And then one Dante. I seldomly use this, so you guys could swap this out for a different card if you wanted to, but being able to mill cards on a slower hand is pretty nice. And then for Link 2s, I am playing one Doolittle Chimera because all the Infernoid are fires. One Wee Witch because with Lair Darkness everything's dark and it bumps up dark monsters. And then one Nightmare Phoenix just to kind of pop problem spells or traps if I really need to. And then the last for the Link 2s is one Hita. So the reason I opted to put this in here is because I was watching some other guys' Infernoid deck profile, and he actually played Crusade Ecomax, and this card is pretty good. So if you're playing against Salamangreat and you make Hita, you can make this card and then OTK the opponent. So that's why it's in here. It comes up. And then Ecomax is super good, and the interaction with Ecomax in this deck is you link 3 into Ecomax, and then you put Infernoid monsters like Atondal and Sestimus to arrows that he points to, making him like over 7k, and then you swing him with this, activate either Sestimus's or Atondal's effect, attribute this guy for cost to banish a card out of your opponent's graveyard, then now you can attack with your other Infernoid monsters, which is really good. It adds another way to OTK the opponent, and I really, really like it. And the last is one Link Kribo in case they negate your Decatron. Like if you could just normal summon Decatron and they Ash it or Veil it or whatever, you just make Link Kribo. That's it for the extra deck. For the side, triple Danko Sekka. My opinion on Danko Sekka is the fact that like going against anything other than Thunder Dragon, it's super good. So I just normal summon Danko Sekka going second against Striker or Orcust or Salamangreat, and then like play Void Imagination and bomb board, and it's awesome. Or even if I just try to need to secure a play, just normal summon Danko Sekka. It's pretty good, and Danko cannot be special summoned, so it keeps going past reasoning. And then 3 Pankratops. It's Pankratops. It's a good card. I'm only playing 2 Kaijus just to make room for other stuff. And then this is where some controversy might come up. Triple Lancia. So I know Lancia prevents both players from being able to remove from play, but this is such a good going second card against Orcust and Thunder Dragon that I had to be able to put it in the side deck slot. So if I go second, I can just side this in and then Lancia my opponent. Or like worst case scenario is like, let's say I side Lancia and I'm going first and I resolve Void Feast and I open the Lancia. Like if I go through all my interruptions with my Infernoids after the Void Feast play resolves, then like and they break through it, I can still always Lancia them and keep them from establishing a board. So it's still good. It kind of conflicts a little bit with the whole deck itself, but it's too good right now not to play. And then triple Twin Twister, same thing as the Danko, good against everything other than Thunder Dragon. And then the last is Void Imagination. I sided the third because this is just such a going second blowout card that if I know I'm going to go second, I'll side it in. So that's it for the deck profile. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of the updated Lair of Darkness Inferno deck profile in the comment section below.